If you can follow this one rule, you will probably decrease your emotion reactivity by half. And this rule isn't about willpower. It isn't about doing something that takes a ton of energy or effort. It's a rule about being really honesty with yourself. When it comes to emotional reactivity, emotions are like the match that sparks the fire. Our habits, self-care, and our problem-solving skills are like the wood that keeps the fire going. But our thinking is like gasoline, and there's one type of thinking that especially explosive when it comes to emotion reactions: black and white thinking. How to identify black and white thinking? Black and white thinking means looking at things in an extreme way, pushing out all the nuances and making everything as intense as possible. You can easily spot this when you use words like always, never, perfect, terrible, or phrases like everything, everyone, nothing, nobody, worse, and best. Abinger Institute called these horribilizations because you make something seem much worse than it is. Notice how in these situations, black and white thinking exaggerates the situation. For example, your partner says, "You never do the dishes. I always have to clean up after you." Or a depressed young adult, "Everything is awful. I'm no good at math. I will never be able to succeed." Or someone at work might think, "My boss is the worst communicator." Each time the person takes a difficult situation and makes it horrible, they use the most extreme words. The more extreme your thoughts, the more intense your emotions will be, and the more likely you are able to be depressed or anxious. But black and white thinking also makes you helpless to escape that depression or anxiety, and it's a lie. When you use black and white thinking, you are usually distorting nuanced reality by ignoring the good and exaggerating the bad. You are lying to yourself. Why do we like black and white thinking? If it's so awful, why do we do it? We subconsciously like black and white thinking because it serves a function in the short term. Like a drug, it makes you suffer in the long term. So, what functions does it serve? First, justification. If your partner does the dishes sometimes but not often, why would you want to phrase that in the worst possible way? Like, "My partner never does the dishes." The reason you want to phrase it that way is to make yourself feel like the good ones and put them down. You are making yourself feel better by making the situation worse in the long run. If your boss has some skills, some strengths, some talents, but struggles to communicate in a few areas, why would you want to say that they are terrible in every way? Because then you don't have to put in the effort to be assertive and communicate your needs and listen to theirs. Believing that your boss is terrible is a mental habit to excuse yourself from work. Number 2, excuse. If math is hard for you, why would you want to believe that it's impossible for you? Why would you want to lie to make a sincerely difficult situation harder? Because then you are excused from trying, from putting in the effort, from the difficulty of hours of studies, or the painful emotions of failing a test. Black and white thinking is an old habit that protects you from painful emotions like uncertainty and disappointment. When we exaggerate how bad things are, it excuses us from action. It creates the idea that we are helpless and therefore we do not need to act. It helps us feel powerless and thereby protect us from feeling guilty or accountable. Be honest with yourself. It kind of feels good when you can call up your bestie and tell them that you've had the worst day in the whole entire world. And then they say, "Oh, you poor thing." But the thing is, most of the time, we don't even make that call. We just have that little internal dialogue with ourselves. "You poor thing." You see, we say to ourselves, and we kind of like it. vindication feels good.